Sometimes we need to lose ourselves in order to find our true selves. When I moved to Paris, I thought everyone must be thinking I'm running away from my problems. But in actual fact, I was running straight towards them. Coming here and au pairing has allowed me the time and freedom to focus on me and focus on healing. If you're scared to make a big choice like this, please take the leap. There's always a flight home. Sometimes you feel lonely and lost and question, what the fuck am I doing? But at the same time, you learn to enjoy solitude and going with the flow of life instead of trying to control everything. The best experiences I've ever had in my life were ones that I didn't control and that I let just happen. So let it just happen. Bonjour biatches, my name is Taylah, I'm 21 and I'm an au pair in Paris. And today I wanted to share my experience, how I got into this, how I did it, and share a little bit of my journey. When I was looking into au pairing, I was looking for a video like this, and there were a few, but not many. That's why I wanted to start posting videos on my experience here. There's definitely some challenges, but a lot of rewards, and the only videos I really found were either like horror stories. A lot of the information I also saw were like negative experiences, and I wanted to share one that was not like that. Like, I've had a very positive experience, and I know a lot of girls that have also had a positive experience. So yeah, I just wanted to share sort of my journey so that you too can start au pairing. Okay, so in today's video I'm going to touch on my experience, why I chose au pairing, why I chose Paris, how I did it, visa requirements, how to make friends here, and some challenges you're going to face when you come here as well. Why am I nervous? The fuck? So the first thing that I want to talk about is why I became an au pair. So previously when I was in Australia, I was working with children all the time anyway, and so I knew that it was something that I could do. It was something that I felt comfortable with, and at the same time, alongside babysitting and saving all my money, I would spend my savings on traveling. First solo travel trip was to Vietnam and Thailand, and that was amazing, changed my life. I think everybody needs to solo travel in their 20s. It should be mandatory, because that had to happen for me to be here as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like that trip prepared me for living abroad alone on the other side of the world. So I was really grateful that I had the opportunity. I was gone for about a month, so it wasn't too long. I got the feel for like solo traveling, how it works. So I definitely think like do a trip. If you're nervous or apprehensive about like going really far for a long time, I would do probably what I did, where you go somewhere kind of close for like a month and do like short trips and start being more independent, so you get the feel for it, and then you can go further and further. And then I just full sent it, and now I'm in Paris. But you don't have to do that. You can take your time, build your confidence with traveling. So I knew that I wanted a lifestyle that would be able to like support traveling, and yeah, that can be kind of hard. So actually I was babysitting a family in Melbourne, and the mum was saying that she was an au pair in America. She was like, it was the best thing to do in your 20s. You can like travel, make new friends. She was the first one who I think brought it up to me, and then I sort of just like dismissed it. I was like, whatever, like, I don't know. I was in a relationship, and like I just didn't see myself doing it. Like, it's always something I wanted to do, but I was like, I didn't think it would be like a reality for me. But I always thought about it in the back of my head, and then I don't really want to talk about that, but yeah. Anyway, I broke up with my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, I need to get away, I need to go somewhere, I need to travel. I don't want to be here, so what can I do? Like, how can I leave for a long period of time with not much money? I had savings, I will say that, but I didn't want to like spend it. I wanted to like go somewhere where I could like work there, or you know, and just have the savings as an emergency. And then that's when I like remembered that au pairing is a thing, and then I looked on a couple websites like Au Pair World. I think there's like a lot of different websites, I'll put them on the screen, but I used Au Pair World. Basically it's kind of like dating. You set up a profile and you just like look through, you reach out to them, and then hopefully it's like a match. So that's pretty much like my journey, like how I got into it, how I found it. There are agencies, au pair agencies, that you can go through, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. Like, you don't have to do that. I wouldn't pay money, especially when like Au Pair World works. Like you don't need to go through an agency. So I don't know, it depends what you feel comfortable with. It worked for me and it's worked for a lot of other people. So I kind of want to talk about the Au Pair World finding a family sort of things. You want to have a good detailed profile so that families know exactly who you are, what you do, and where you're from. Also, when you're reaching out to them, you want to make each message personalized so that they know that you've really read through their information and you're not just like copying and pasting the same message to 100 families, because that doesn't seem to have taken the time or effort to even like get to know them. So you really want to get off on a really good first impression. When you write your message to the family, make sure you include their names if they've mentioned it. Make sure you really, it does take a lot of time because you are personalizing the message, but I promise you it pays off. You know, that's all it takes is one family. I did struggle a little bit because I was picky, but I really encourage you to be picky because at the end of the day, you're here for a year. Most likely you're here for a year. Yeah, that's just something you really need to be picky about. Some of the things that I made sure to consider was having my own bathroom. There are opportunities for you to have your own apartment in Paris, like away from the family, and that is the ideal situation because you really want to have that work-life balance, that separation. If they can't provide that, my requirements were at least that I had my own bathroom. So I actually do have my own shower and vanity, and then I just use the toilet that everyone else uses. So that's fine as long as I had my own shower. And yeah, I have my own room, have my own little section. So I also asked that my language course would be paid for. My Navigo, which is usually always included, which is just like a transport card. It's usually always included. Groceries, these are also included. I just want to reiterate that these are really important things to bring up just to clarify and make sure that you do have these included, because if you don't, first of all, red flag, like they should be looking after you. And second of all, these are basic things that you're going to need. Just like having your own bathroom, just in terms of privacy, and like I'll get into it later about work-life balance and living with a family. Having your own shower is so important. Just think about it. You're living with them for a year. They're not your family, but they're your family. You have to be picky. So I would really be going through the families and making sure that you match, and if you don't, just move on. There's so many other families out there. Don't be desperate, because I know what that feels like. I kind of was like, oh, like I can't really, like I'm only reaching out to a few of the families and like I'm not really getting anything back. Like I should just like lower my standards, but no, don't. And I'm so glad I didn't. And then I reached out to this one family. This was like the last family I was going to reach out to. I had reached out to a lot of families. I had a few interviews and like didn't really like match with any of them. And then I basically said like, if I get this family, like it's a sign, like I'm meant to go. You know, it's a sign. So we had an interview, and then I asked them, like I had my notebook ready full of questions, and do your freaking research, know the questions to ask. Just want to be really clear, like really clear, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Also, like for me, it's like I'm moving to the other side of the world. I need to know what I'm getting myself into. I definitely asked a lot of questions, and even if they seem silly, like most of us are in our 20s, like nothing is silly. Ask away. So after I had matched with my host family, I pretty much went straight to the travel agent and booked my flights, which was crazy because I was booking a one-way flight to Paris, which was insane. Like I literally couldn't believe my life. I booked my flight straight away because even for me as an Australian, now every country's requirements are different for the visa. So I'm speaking as an Australian, like having this experience. So if you're also Aussie, like you can copy what I'm saying, but if you're not, I would do your own research. For the visa process, you already have to have your flights booked, and you want to, as soon as you know you've been picked by a family, you want to start applying for the visa straight away, because this is the scariest part. Visas can take a long time. Sometimes they can be quick. It's very hit and miss. And you already have to have your flights booked before you get the visa, which is kind of silly because, for example, for me, I got told very last minute. The Olympics was going on, Paralympics and everything, so visas were very like limited. They were taking a long time. And I went to the visa center and did the process, and they basically said like, I think they said it would take like a month or something to get it. And they gave me a rough estimate of the date, and it was a day after my flight. And I was like, what? How? Anyway, so definitely book your visa appointment very far in advance if you can. I actually had no other choice. That was the closest date I could get, so it was not my fault. But in the end, it did come early, which was very lucky. I'm from Melbourne, and the Melbourne consulate it was meant to be in the Docklands, but they moved the office and they moved it to St Kilda. But I think they moved it back to Docklands, so just do your research, check your emails, check your spam emails when you're booking appointments and everything like that. I was desperate. I was I cannot fly to Paris without my visa yet. So I was I'll do anything. They basically send your passport and all your documents that you give them to Sydney, and Sydney consulate, they do all the visa processing and then they send it back. And my dad lives in Sydney, and I was I'll literally pick it up from Sydney. I don't care, I just need this. And they were no, you can't. You have to get it from here. And I was praying that I would get it in time, and I did. So it all worked out. I'm gonna put what I had to submit on the screen now, and you can pause and screenshot. So yeah, these are the things you need as an Australian applying for an au pair visa. In regards to this one, because I was staying for a long time, I was oh, what am I gonna do? What visa do I apply for? But there is actually an au pair visa. So because there's so many au pairs in France and I guess in Europe, they've made a specific visa to be an au pair in France. This is a specific au pair visa. So the things that I listed on the screen, those are what you need. You definitely need a contract. I know girls, I don't know if it's because they're European, so they technically didn't need a visa or anything, and that's why they didn't take it so seriously. But even if you're European and you don't need to apply for a visa, definitely have a contract. A contract is so important. Just like any job is a basis of your rights. You know hours, the days, it's just a common agreement that you both sign, and you can always go back to it when you're here and be actually that's not in the contract, we didn't agree to that. Or it just is something you can always go back to and refer to, so that you don't get mistreated. Not that I have been, or that I know anyone that has been, but it's important to have that so that you have something, because at the end of the day, you're here alone, you've got no one. So at least have a contract. So I wanted to talk about why I chose Paris and not anywhere else in France or Europe. I just knew that there was a really big community of au pairs in Paris, London, and New York. These are their three big cities, and I knew that there was an au pairing community in all of those cities. Do your research. That's how you can sort of understand and make sure you're making the right decision. Things that I thought about were, I don't want to be in the countryside where I feel really alone and secluded and I don't have a sense of community. So that was one. So I knew I had to be in a big city. I am always making little trips out to the countryside if I need a break from the city anyway. So yeah, I would just think about what you like and what you want and what you don't want. In terms of location, I wanted to be in a good location. I didn't want to be outside of Paris. I wanted to be in Paris. So we have the metro right next to us, and that's perfect for me. I chose Paris in particular because I already had two friends that I previously had met in Vietnam on my solo traveling, and so I chose Paris because it just made me feel more comfortable knowing that I would have someone. I mean, even if I didn't have them, I still would have chose Paris, I think, because yeah, it's just such a big community of au pairs here. I mean, I am learning French. It's really cool. Language learning is really a tough experience, especially as someone that my first language is English. I've never learned another language. Australians don't really take language learning seriously in schools, so it's basically my first time learning a language and taking it seriously, and it is so hard. No one really talks about how hard it is, but I've literally cried so many times while learning French, because it's when you're at the dinner table and it's late and your dad's teaching you maths, or your grandpa or whoever is teaching you maths, and you're just crying, you're I can't do it. It's that for me. I think you just have to trust the process. I think it's really important to also try, even if you don't want to be fluent in the language. I do, because I want to learn one language in my life, and I'm here so I might as well learn French. If you are not interested in learning a language, I would still learn the basics, because it's polite to greet someone when you first come here with bonjour. Even just like when you're ordering something from the boulangerie or from a cafe, just try and order in French, and you get better and better the more you do it. So just keep going. If you are really trying to take it seriously, the things that I have been doing are listening to French music. I'm gonna be starting to listen to podcasts because I heard that helps. Just like exposing yourself to the language, obviously. So like I live here, so it's always around me, but being conscious. So like when we're out and about, I try not to have my AirPods in all the time. If I can hear people speaking French, I will take them out, because I just want to listen to like people speaking. Get yourself familiar with like the accent and the tones. Yeah, just literally listening to people around you. You don't know what they're talking about, but the more you learn like vocabulary, you'll be able to pick up like, oh, they're talking about the bike. Like I heard the word bike. Yeah, take your freaking AirPods out and actually listen. Duolingo is really good. I know, okay, at first I was so against Duolingo. I was like, why the frick am I learning cat and dog before hello, how are you? But I must say now I'm at a point where, for me, Duolingo is not about what I'm learning. It's about the fact that I am learning. It's about creating a habit and doing it. It's something that holds you accountable. I'm learning so much now because I prioritize learning every single day. And honestly, it's because of Duolingo. I have a streak on Duolingo, and like I don't want to break the streak, and so like I have to do like 15 minutes of Duolingo every day, and that's good. That's a good thing. Don't look at Duolingo as something where you're actually going to learn from, but more so as like you're going to create a habit. Get a private tutor if you can. This is something that I'm currently struggling with. I've been here for 4 months, and when I first got here, I was in a community school, which was very cheap, and that was good, that was fine, but it was not my level. I had no basis of French, so that wouldn't work for me. But honestly, like, as I'm learning, I could go back to that now, because I've learned a little bit of a basis, so I could probably go back now. The whole class was spoken in French, and I didn't know anything. So this was just stressing me out and kind of giving me anxiety, so it wasn't going to work. Then I went on to Preply, found a teacher, and just had lessons with the teacher, and that really helped. And now I'm trying to find a new tutor because I just want to like see what someone else is like. Definitely do those things that I mentioned. Oh, also another one is watch TV shows in French, or what I like to do is watch Caillou in French. You can go on YouTube and write like Caillou Français, and it's so good. It's good because they speak clearly, they speak slowly, they speak properly, because that's another issue here, is that the French, at least younger French people, do not speak proper French. It's like very slang. YouTube is your best friend. I have a workbook that I got from a bookshop here, and it's literally for like French children, and I use it, and it's good. It's good. It has like crosswords in it, and it has QR codes to show like pronunciation. It has like fun sort of activities for kids to learn French, but I am learning it with it, so it's really good. These are some tips and tricks for language learning, and it's not easy. It's very hard. You're gonna have days where you're like, oh, I've had a good day like learning French and using it, and you're gonna have days where you're just angry and upset that you can't speak the language and you can't understand anything, and that's also okay. So it's like this all the time. Okay, I quickly want to touch on a day in a life. So every day is different, obviously, but I work Monday to Friday. I don't work weekends unless they have asked me to babysit, and in that case they should also be paying you extra because you've already worked your limit of hours. Just make sure you have your weekends and it's like clarified, because you don't want to be working on the freaking weekend. I pretty much have the whole day to myself until 3:40, because I have to go pick up my child from school. Some au pairs take their children to school in the mornings, and then they pick them up. I only take my child to school in the morning if the parents have specifically asked me to, because they usually take them anyway. Otherwise, my day starts at 3:40 in the evening. That's when like I go to school. I pretty much have the whole day, and what that looks like for me is So I like to get up, I like to open the windows, get some fresh air, drink some water, and then do some like meditation or yoga. And then after that, I will do Duolingo and French learning. So I start with Duolingo because it gets me in the mood of learning French. I don't understand how frustrating it is to just not wake up fluent in a language. So I do that, and then I will go into like my workbooks or my tutor. I would usually do my tutor, but I don't have her at the moment. And yeah, that's sort of like, I've already done a lot of good things for myself for the day. But then after that, I'll usually go to the gym, which is very close. It's called Basic Fit. They have them everywhere. When I first got here, I was doing ClassPass, and that was also a really good way to get out in the community. A lot of the classes are in French, so that's also a really good learning opportunity. It was nice to like trial that in a new city. After that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign up to the gym. So I signed up to Basic Fit, and it's very cheap and it's got everything I need, so it's good. After that, I'll come home, probably make some lunch, and then I don't know, the day goes really fast. So yeah, I might like clean my room, clean the kitchen. Also, it's good to know your responsibilities at the house. So for me, it's mostly just like keeping the kitchen tidy. I have a cleaner that does like the laundry and everything, but you want to know your chores, your tasks. That's also really important to know what you're doing. For me, I knew it was just about mostly the kitchen, so I always just make sure like the dishwasher's, you know, on. Sometimes I go meet a friend for coffee. Hi guys, so I'm with Kitty. We're having our matcha. Yay. And we're people watching, and then we're gonna go to the bookshop. Sometimes, yeah, I do my French like studying with a friend, so it really depends on the day. Yeah, around 3:40 I'll go to the school, and there's a little boulangerie on the corner, and we get something called goûter, which if you are not familiar with French language, goûter means snack. Basically the children here have like a little snack after school, which is pretty common in most countries, but yeah, they call it goûter.
Bonjour, est-ce que je peux avoir une viennoise au chocolat, s'il vous plaît? C'est bon, merci.
Here it's very common to get something called viennoise au chocolat, and it's like a baguette with chocolate chips in it, and it's not like a baguette, but it's like the shape of a baguette, and it's like a brioche baguette with chocolate chips sort of vibe. That's what my kid gets every day, and he loves it, and a lot of the kids get that. Otherwise, you know, you can get pain au chocolat, croissant. Those are like sort of the main ones, I think. Madeleines. School pickups at 4:30, but I like to get there earlier so that I can get my kids goûter. And then after that, pick him up from school, and there's a park really close to the school, and so a lot of the AuPairs and a lot of kids go to the park after school. They have their goûter together, and then they go and play, and it's a really good opportunity for like AuPairs to like talk to each other and make friends. It's actually where I met my first friend here, so yeah, it's a really good chance to like make new friends. We don't go to the park as much as we used to because he has after school activities, so sometimes we go for a long time, sometimes it's nothing at all. So it really depends on the day. It's usually like a rough day in the life. We are going to the park, we'll go and we'll stay for a while home. And then when we're home, if I'm babysitting, then I'm obviously still working. So I'll make dinner, I'll make sure he has a bath, and I'm asking him about his homework and stuff like that, because another responsibility I have is making sure he does his English homework. If I'm not babysitting, then I don't bother cooking dinner unless they like specifically ask me. I eat dinner with them, like the dad or the mum will cook, or sometimes I won't eat dinner with them. I'll tell them like I'm going out, and I'll go out. Most au pairs babysit twice a week. That's sort of the standard is, yeah, 2 nights of the week you're babysitting. On Wednesdays, children in France don't have school, so it's usually like a full day of activities, and that can be pretty exhausting. Some au pairs, like their children don't have any activities, but it just depends on your family. So that's usually a day in a life. Very fun. I think I'm gonna finish the video here and make this part 1, and I'll make a part 2, and I just want to give as much information as possible. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll address them in the part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry I spoke a lot. I'm a bit of a yapper. I'm gonna start bringing out more videos like this about au pairing. Stay tuned. So au revoir. Bisous bisous.